right. Justin, what's happening, man?
Well, weather's turning cold. Fall is happening for real. And we're doing a podcast.
That is a fact, Jack. Hello, everybody. It's Anthony and Justin. Both of us have the pleasure of sitting on the RIA board of directors. And, just in an effort to let everybody know what the board of directors is all about, dispel any myths or confirm some suspicions that you might have. I think people are inherently suspicious of Justin Woodard. That's a joke. We're doing this interview series and just giving everybody the opportunity to log on, make comments, ask questions. And then if nobody has any comments, I've got a big list of questions for you, Justin. Are you ready?
I'm looking forward to it, Anthony. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Sorry about your weather.
Well, it's sunny. It's just cold.
Fair enough, man. All right. You have a different path into restoration than most people, and the fact that you were kind of born into it. My joke is always, none of us were sitting in a sandbox at 9 years old talking about how we wanted to suck water out of basements, but maybe that was true for you. So give us the history, right? How did you get started in property restoration?
Anthony, I think it's funny that there's some weird irony here that you're right. I could have been a young kid thinking about water damage in ways that other folks that are in the industry may not have. But my first, what I would call real job at Woodard was the IT manager.
Really? I didn't even know that.
And so, yeah, my training, my interest, my background is software engineering. So I've got a computer science degree. I've written hundreds of thousands of lines of computer code. I used to know 7 different computer languages, coding languages, and I may actually be the only trained software engineer that leads a property restoration business.
I can't think of one. That's for sure. So then connect the dots for me. Go to school, raised in the environment, have the greatest level of proximity to the industry, decide to go get your degree in software engineering, and yet here you are running a property restoration company.
Yeah, it's a little weird. I actually, right after college, I grew up in St. Louis, right, where Woodard exists. I went to school in Indiana, and then I actually moved to Chicago, and I worked at a startup consultancy that specialized in building custom software for a variety of different, financial services industries and real estate, property management places. And, the gig as a consultant is pretty fun. If you like problem solving, if you like doing, having interesting challenges and seeing a bunch of different businesses, there's really not a better job, especially coming right out of college. And, what I found was, as much as I loved the company that I was working for, what I ended up having to do over and over again was go into an organization, meet really great people, learn all about their problems, do the very best that I could with my team to solve those problems. And then as soon as we had them all kind of in a good spot, before we would really see if the result was good, we had to move on to the next project.
Mm-hmm.
And, that sort of, rhythm, though it was very, rewarding from getting to learn new things and implement really cool solutions or problems. It didn't scratch the itch of getting to know people in a deep way, having deep relationships, seeing what a group of people could accomplish over time in an environment that was healthy. And the opportunity that I had to come back to Woodard, Dad really never pressured me to say, hey, this is the thing you got to do. But as you kind of know, if the thing is out there, it's always out there in the back of your mind. And as I assess my my career after being in consulting for 6 or 7 years, one of the things that became pretty evident was that it would be another 15 or 20 years before I really had an opportunity to lead a group of people in any meaningful way.
Yeah.
The company wasn't big enough to support, having internal teams. And so I was going to be working at different companies for, the foreseeable future. And that that led me to look at the opportunity to come back to Woodard in a pretty specific way, to be able to have the chance to, at a pretty young age, enter a role in leadership, and then have the opportunity to earn the possibility of buying the business, of creating an environment for people to, and a culture to grow in a way of of my choosing and my direction, and in the way that I wanted to take the company into the next generation. And ultimately, I Julia, my wife, and I decided to pick up from Chicago and move back down to St. Louis, and I started my my role as IT manager about 15 years ago at Woodard.
Wow. So tell us, Woodard has a long legacy, and you get the opportunity of seeing it from, being a member of the family and everything. And every time I'm at your facility, which I've had the opportunity to be there a few times over the years, you just walk around the place and it just, like, it is thick with legacy, and I love it. I love bathing in the pool of Woodard's legacy, so to speak, every time I'm there. But tell us about the business. When did it start? And kind of the growth and evolution of it.
Sure thing. The thing that makes Woodard, I think, unique in this area is that we started our first job was our first service was in-home rug cleaning. We were started in 1946 by my grandma and grandpa, and the innovation at the time was that at that point in time, there was no such thing as wall-to-wall carpeting, right? Nylon fibers really hadn't been invented, so there really wasn't anything to clean in the home other than area rugs. And most of the time, the only way to clean the rugs was to roll them up and take them into some factory and drop them off, and hope that someday you'd be able to come back and they'd be dry and clean, and you can put them back in your house. And my grandma and grandpa didn't have the funds to create a rug cleaning facility at that point in time, and they, through a series of probably good luck, and had some family that was looking out for them, learned that there was a new machine that that was coming onto the market, and it was the first portable rug cleaning machine. You could put it on a trailer. They grabbed it. They bought a trailer. They bought one of these portable rug cleaning machines, towed it around St. Louis, and Grandpa would go knock on doors and move furniture out of the way, and then he'd clean folks' rugs inside of their homes, do the best he could to not get them too wet, so they would eventually dry.
Yep.
And that's how they started the business. And so we started our services started in the home, taking care of people in St. Louis, and Grandma was right behind him. She her gift was in art. Her gift was in marketing and understanding the community had to support the business, and the best way to do that was to go out in the community, volunteer, make donations, and really be able to be involved in as many groups locally as possible. So that was the entry point about 77 years ago. From there, after several years, I don't actually know the exact number, but eventually that business, was able to grow to the point where they had the customers and the they could get the financial resources from the bank to actually build a rug cleaning plant. And so that was the first big investment, was buying a Moore machine, which is in the rug cleaning business. If you know that business, that was the place to go for your rug cleaning machine. We built a facility around that piece of machinery, eventually built a drying room and automated that whole process, and have been cleaning rugs in there ever since. At some point, as wall-to-wall carpeting became, part of everyday life, we started cleaning rugs. We were doing drapery cleaning, took on furniture cleaning about around that time. Eventually started to do commercial carpet cleaning when my dad and his brother bought the business in the early 80s. And shortly after that, they got the commercial carpet cleaning business up and going. And that's really when, this restoration industry that we all know so well really began to have some opportunities. We began doing fire damage cleanup in the mid 80s, water damage cleanup after that, mold at the end of the century, and eventually added our full service capacity in 2008. So we've been doing the full service restoration since then.
Awesome. And one of the things that always sticks out in my mind about you as a leader is, kind of you have a different way of leading your team. Even down to where your office is located inside of the warehouse. So I would be remiss if I didn't tee that up and give you the opportunity to share a little bit of your philosophy.
Well, I mean, now that that I came from a geeky startup technology consultancy. Next time you walk around Woodard, you might look at it a little bit differently, right? Our office is completely open. There actually are no offices in our no closed door offices in our facility. Um, and that includes my space. I've got a little nook. Nobody really wanted to sit next to me, so they kind of I got shoved into a little nook, but there is no door still. And then we've created spaces all around our desks where we can actually do collaborative work, or get the quiet spaces that are obviously needed when you're doing calls like this. Or there's a variety of other purposes where you would need to do heads down work
Hmm.
without interruption. So we've been able, done a couple iterations of this through the last few years. So we've been relatively successful creating an open atmosphere that also allows work to be done in a reasonable fashion. It's a pretty challenging scenario to do when you have 40, 50, 60, 70 people
Hmm.
in one space. But we've learned a lot over the years, and now we have what I would consider, 4 or 5 smaller areas that are open, that are kind of broken up by conference rooms and other areas inside of the building. In our previous iteration, we had about 40 people all in one huge open area, and that
Hmm.
actually proved to be pretty loud and distracting quite often. So we iterated on that, and I think we've kind of split the difference in a way that is encouraging for our team. It is collaborative, and it provides the space as a whole provides enough privacy to be able to get stuff done.
Got it. Why? Tell me why. Like, I understand the structure, but yeah, like, what's the logic behind that? Why do you structure your teams that way? And why do you not have a door on your office? That seems counterintuitive, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's um, I think it's probably some deep personal thing for me. Like, I want to be connected to people. I want the relationships to be deepened, and I want folks to be able to realize that um, we're looking for the contributions of everybody. And sometimes when the door gets closed, or you get artificial barriers up, those can be hard to be overcome. And for me, it may just be one of those kind of privileges as the owner. It feels better to me when we're all out in the open. I think it is, I'm looking for transparency in a lot of the structures and the processes,
Mhm.
of our business. And this allows it to be a physical transparency, to create that environment. And I think the spaces where we exist are really important. And um, in this way, it kind of it does start the place where we exist starts all of the behaviors. And I think this is at least the right one for me.
Awesome, man. So what's your favorite part? Restoration is one of these things that has a lot of nuance to it. There's a customer service element, there's some technical stuff, both like in the field, and then with emerging technologies, there's all sorts of stuff that's happening, finance components, right? It always, I always say restoration got a hold of me because I got ADD and I can't focus on one thing. And there was always a new problem to fix. And that's what lit it up for me. But if you had to pick, what's your favorite part of the business? What's the one side of the business that you're like, no matter what, this thing grabs me and pulls me in every single time?
Yeah, it's pretty easy for me. The service the service aspect and the relationships and wanting to be needed. Like being able to provide a service for folks that need it, and to feel like I'm contributing, feel like my team is contributing, feel like we're doing something important. That's the part that really drives me. I got that unfortunate call from a friend today. And, if you're in the business, if you're at lunchtime and you get a call from somebody you're not expecting a call from, they're going to
Yep.
say like, hey, I got a sewer backup in my office and I need help. And I don't really know what to do, except I think I should call you.
Mhm.
And, to be able to get that call and know that somebody's on the other side of it, that I have a relationship with and I can help. And I've got a whole team that, I get to show off that can kick into gear and figure out how to go give them the help that they need as quickly as possible. That there is there's a little bit of ego and kind of a cowboy mentality that comes from just being able to go out and help somebody and be able
Mhm.
to rally a team to come save the day. And I think all of the fun and jokes about that aside, there's a deep part of me that just wants to wants to feel like I can contribute and wants to feel like I can help other people. And if there's folks out there that need help, I love being the person that can say yes and make it happen.
I'm gonna peel back a layer of the onion one more time on that. Tell me why.
Sure.
Why is that important to you? I'll give some context around it too. I think that's something all of us in the industry feel, but very I don't want to. I think a lot of us don't quite understand why. And so you've had the opportunity to be in a leadership position, and maybe you've got an answer that might resonate with some folks.
Well, we'll see if it does. The thing that I've learned about myself is that I am looking to be connected with other people. The best thing that I've got on why is that I'm scared that people are going to leave me. Right? I don't know where that came from. I don't have any like knowledge or understanding or like there's nobody's left me for real,
Mhm.
right? Like I got my parents, my sisters, great wife and kids, and I got an amazing team at Woodard. And there's still that real deep part of me that's always a little bit scared that I might be left alone.
Hmm.
And the thing that has served me well, that allows me to, we've all got that fear that we've got to confront or do something about. And the action that I've been able to take over the years is that I can provide some help for people. And when
Yeah.
I provide some help from people, I kind of can dull that fear that maybe they won't leave if I help them out. And if I'm close enough and developing a deep enough relationship, it gives me confidence that we are connected. And I'm a little bit more secure in my own skin and in the relationship when I can help other people out.
Awesome. Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, don't tell anybody.
Whoops. All right. Jumping back out, zooming out, 10,000-foot view question. What do you see as the greatest challenge restorers are facing or will face in the next 5 years?
Well, here's my view. I think we're competing for talent at a level that I am not sure that we as restorers fully appreciate. We're in a system. In this system, I would kind of broadly put as like contractors, right?
Mhm.
Unions for a long time have been creating the rules, and they created all the trades that exist in this contractor world. These trades have benefited from union representation by, they've been increasing wages over time for sure. But the bigger benefit I think that they have been given is the marketing that these certain trades exist.
Mhm.
If you or someone out there, goes up on the street, and I just walk up to somebody on the street and I say, hey, how many trades do you know or understand? They'd be able to say like, oh, okay, carpenter, plumber, electrician, auto
Mhm.
mechanic, maybe HVAC tech. If they're in, a union family, they might be able to go like pipe fitter, iron
Mhm.
worker, machinist, mason, right? Like there's a
Mhm.
bunch of them. But in no conversation that I've ever had have I ever imagined somebody saying water, fire, or mold tech,
Mhm.
right? With all of these jobs, like we need folks that are willing to do hard work
Yep.
and work with their hands. And all of the common trades, they have schools that teach everybody how to do this thing. So
Mhm.
you can go to school, go learn something, and then you're going to go out in this contractor world, and you're going to make a strong wage and have, decent financial security. But the bar into our industry, right? In order to get into our industry, one, you got to figure out and find out it exists, right? And then it's even higher because there's no trade school. So you can't get educated out there and then go figure out like, oh, I'm going to go make a good living. And then our jobs, if you think about it, our jobs compared to like a carpenter or something like that, our jobs are like a first responder mixed in with a physically demanding trade job with a side of sales, that in order to close a job, you got to be able to sell the job and tell people why you're going to deliver value to them in their home. And then you got to do this admin work to make sure that the paperwork is done secure, accurately, so the insurance company is satisfied. And we've let the insurance companies influence our, businesses and our industry to such a degree that, and especially in how we invoice for our work, we've artificially depressed the wages of these super tradespeople that are really hard to find, that we have to train ourselves and then we have to retain somehow when they're on call. And their effective billing rate in these things isn't commensurate to the work that we do or what we really need to pay them. So what's our biggest challenge? Our biggest challenge is one that I'm not sure we're putting full effort towards yet, but we have a huge challenge to find, train, and pay folks that do mitigation jobs in the context of all the other trades out there that are seemingly higher valued. And even though I can argue that they have a smaller basket of skills in many ways, and they need less empathy, and they're more well-known and better paid for.
Yeah.
So we got to figure that out as an industry. And as leaders, we've got to step up and, get some solutions to this that are, that we haven't really championed in the past.
You articulated that better than anybody else I've ever heard. Good job, man. Because I think we all feel that way, right? But putting it into words, wow, good job. Well, I guess, is that the one thing you can't stop thinking about?
Well, I can't stop thinking about that. I think though, when when I think about, there's another thing, I go to, like, when you see a big new construction job site or something like that, they always have like multiple dumpsters and they're like recycling different stuff. And, I think about our industry and like our lack of recycling, because it's like, how do you recycle stuff that's been in a sewer backup, right? Like, it's like, we have no idea how to do that, right? So I can't stop thinking about, you remember Back to the Future, right? Back to the Future 2, where Doc comes and he like opens up Mr. Fusion and they throw all that stuff in. It's like a banana peel. Yeah. I can't stop thinking about Mr. Fusion, because if we had Mr. Fusion, we could put all the stuff we put in the dumpsters in Mr. Fusion and create energy. That would be awesome.
I think over our next cigar, we need to discuss what the flux capacitor of our industry is.
Yeah.
If we can determine that, then we reverse engineer the Mr. Fusion solution, and I think we're there.
Yeah, then you could really say like it never happened. It's like, well, I'm going to go back in time and fix your problem so it doesn't even happen. But it'll be expensive.
That's right. My gosh. Michael O on LinkedIn. He, it seems like merger and acquisition is a topic we can't get away from in our industry. So his comment is, the continued consumption of independent restoration contractors by big restoration and their organizational alignment with insurance carriers is 100% the biggest threat. What do you think? Do you think merger and acquisition is working for or against our industry right now?
Yeah, I guess it's a threat to, I'm not sure. It's the 100% biggest threat. I think there's a variety of ways it could be considered a significant threat, right?
Yeah.
If insurance carriers are at the center of the M&A, then I 100% agree with Michael O's comment, right? There have been some examples recently of insurance carriers having their own restoration contractors.
Yeah.
Right. And not really being transparent about that, not telling their policyholders, putting things in policies that, maybe pigeonhole policyholders into using restoration companies before, there's even a situation where they need it. I mean, those sorts of bad behavior, like the conflict of interest and bad behavior of that sort of model, really, I think is a big threat that we need to be aware of. And, we've got the RA's got the AGA that is,
Mhm.
continuing to try to get resources that I think we desperately need to make sure that we can combat some of that bad behavior. If you're just thinking about it from, there's a variety of restoration companies that are getting, that are being purchased and combining,
Mhm.
resources with other larger companies. Like, I don't know if that's necessarily, that in particular, that side of it is, a choice that, right, different people are going to make in different ways. But I do think how contractors and insurance companies may be aligned or actually in the same ownership groups. I would agree with Michael O. That's a pretty big threat and something that we need to make sure that we're aligned as an industry about what
Mhm.
you know, where the conflict of interest resides,
Mhm.
and to be able to educate the public on this situation that may not get them the best, best value or the best quality work that they need to get their home restored.
Yeah, I agree. Why'd you join the board of directors? You were elected just this last cycle, right? So you've only been here. What's it? April will be a year, correct?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
correct. That's correct. It hasn't been a year yet. I mean, I didn't know it at the time, but at this point, I joined just for the chocolate covered macadamia nuts, which I didn't even know was, really part of it. But in hindsight, that's really the top, that's the top reason, obviously. These
Oh
things
man.
from Hawaii that always make their way to the mainland for every time, we get together every couple, twice a year is fantastic. The part of it is like positive family peer pressure, I guess. Like,
Okay.
um, my maybe we could do a quick RIA history lesson. The
Sure.
RIA is 76 years old, if I'm doing my math right, and the RIA was founded as an organization called the National Institute of Rug Cleaners, NIRC. And the NERC, which is what they became, what they called themselves.
Hmm.
My grandma and grandpa were a part of that original group of people, which
Wow.
basically, means that my grandma was the first to serve as president. She served as a president of an organization. The organization at that point was called AIDS, AIDS. It didn't last long, but
Oh no.
um, and grandpa served. As we had to quickly change that name, it became ASCR, the association, or the what is it, Association of Specialists of Cleaning and Restoration or something like that. Anyway, and then Dad served. A whole bunch of people from Woodard had served. Most recently, Debbie Bogar, our CFO
Mhm.
and 30-year tenured team member, she served. And there is part of it that just feels like it was my time.
Yeah.
I have been doing my thing at Woodard for about 15 years now. The team is supporting me in really, really wonderful ways, and it was a situation where I felt supported enough in my organization by my team that I could go out and begin to serve the industry. And you know, in that sense, I'm all in for being able to connect with people around the country, hear from our members, and hear what they need from us and where we need to go in the future.
And
I think
so
the
what do you?
last part is like just the relationships. My dad and Debbie and a variety of people at Woodard before me have shown me the power of creating deep and wide relationships within the industry.
Mhm.
We all need help from time to time, whether that's just we're in a crappy situation, we need somebody to vent to, or we really have a struggle and we need advice and a solution, or we have a friend or a family member or a business associate or customer that has a big problem in a market we don't serve,
Mhm.
and we need to be able to pick up the phone. And it's one of the strengths of our industry is those relationships and those connections. And RA is just one other way that we get to make new friends and kind of keep the old ones and make sure that we can
Yeah.
serve in each other.
I had a had a friend of mine from high school. He lives out in Utah now. He calls me or he sends me. It was actually a Facebook message. He's like, "Hey, we were gone for 5 weeks and the power went out, and everything that was in our fridge turned to liquid and leaked all over our house, and it stinks. What do I do? And I told him, I said, duct tape it shut, throw it away, and call Trace Larson.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, there's not a cleaning product I can use. And I'm like, dude, you've got 5 kids. You do not want to handle this. You just want to call somebody. But I completely agree with you, right? Like the power of our industry is, hey, like I've got a buddy of mine in Utah, and I can make that connection and know that he's going to get treated with the same level of integrity and dignity that I would treat him myself. And, that's absolutely just a wonderful thing.
Yeah. And for, Michael O and others benefit, I'm just trying to buck the trend a little bit of folks coming into RAA and not getting bought by some other big company. So I'm just going to, make sure that doesn't happen right now.
Well, you'd have to wave goodbye to, 70 some odd years of legacy. And yeah.
Right.
Who are your mentors or sources of inspiration?
Oh, well, we talked about, a variety of them, right? Starting with grandma, grandpa, my dad, the folks at Woodard, obviously, that have come before me. But I think the other folks I'd like to call out, like, as I've traveled around over the last decade or so, there's a couple of folks that stick out. And one of them is a guy named Brad Wyke up in Decatur, Illinois. He runs and owns a company called Peerless. And Peerless was, it was just among the first, right? That's not the only one, but he was the first place I ever went to where I walked around and was like, okay, I want my place to look like this. Mm-hmm. It's clean. The floors look like they were just waxed, right? Everything was in line. Mm-hmm. Every customer item that they were given back was just, it had an attention to detail that I hadn't seen before. So I love getting to go into Brad's place and seeing how detail oriented he and his company are. The other folks that come to mind, from the perspective of like understanding costs, having great WIP meetings, knowing the financials, and knowing how a job should be going without even being on site. The guys out at Harborough, which is now Blue Sky, old Jim Franklin, and David Mole, learned a lot from those guys about how you sit with a project manager and say, that's BS. You need to get on top of your shit. And then actually, I mean, my recent experiences with John Kowalski at Pivot, tying a process to success in lead generation and in operations, both. Pretty impressive stuff that he has created, and it's really given me a different way of thinking about lead generation in the restoration industry, where a lot of us live and die by a surge or some uptick in business or one big job, and John says that's not the way you do it. There are processes you can put in place that if you're diligent about can leads will follow, and you just got to come back to the process. So I've loved that recently. There's a paradox that is, maybe not talked about all that often, but I've seen it in lots of different industries, and it's about building, really caring and deeply connected cultures and demanding high performance and high expectations around financial performance. And Rich Pilch, he great example of, he's done that really, really successfully. And, his team is up in, the Northeast, and they're, I've learned a lot from him and how he is trying to balance the paradox of what a good culture looks like when you're also demanding high performance. And then, the note I'll make, in all seriousness with my dad, like, and Debbie, the folks that I learned from here at Woodard, finding a way to take action, even and especially when it's completely unclear about what to do next. Like that's what they did. That's what they keep doing. That's what, it's the lesson I'm continuing to try to learn from them. And they've given me the benefit of, trying to learn that lesson over and over again.
Yeah.
That's, there's a handful.
Yeah. I mean, between you and I, just so it doesn't go without saying, I'm jealous you get to work with Debbie every day. I think she's an incredible human. And I don't know. I would jump at that opportunity for sure. She's just badass in every direction, man. All right. It all goes away tomorrow. and you have to start a restoration company, and you only have 100 grand, how do you deploy the capital to ensure that you're successful? And I ask this question intentionally on behalf of those of our members that are doing this, living that right now. Knowing what you know, how would you spend the money?
You know, my first instinct is to go find somebody that is way more interested in starting a business than me.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But you don't, I'm sorry, I put it in a box, man. I put it in a box.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I think the first thing I would do is there's a couple of folks in my life that, and really at Woodard that I would go talk to first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're in the vein of, you know, a guy named Brian Carter or Spencer Warren, Paul Mauerboucher. These are guys that, you know, that can assess the simplicity of what we need really, really quickly and get out of the way all the other crap you don't need.
Mm-hmm.
And so I mean, I think that's where I would start. Is I would go start getting advice. Basically, the point here is filling in the gaps of my own, you know, what I perceive as I would need to be able to start a business. And one of those gaps for me would being able to distill down to just the minimum stuff that we need to prioritize the most important things. And, you know, that's where, unfortunately, like I find myself sitting here like, shit, I have no idea. I know I would need to prioritize. I know I would need to focus. I know I would need, you know, minimum, I'd need the tools and equipment to do the job. Right. And so getting some advice on what's the most economical way to do that, to make sure that, you know, I could get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, the thing that I would balance with, you know, that's delivery. Right. And we're going to try to not confuse delivery with, you know, marketing and sales.
Mm-hmm.
And so being able to, you know, look at one lead, like referral program, like that, I think that's where I'd start. Instead of just trying to go do a shotgun approach, I think I would choose one and say, hey, I think I'm going to go build a restoration business based on plumber referrals or agent referrals or property managers in, you know, one particular part, you know, whether that's multifamily or facility management or office, you know, whatever, you know, go choose one based on the market that I was in. And I would get really, really specific about the activities I need to do to get non-weather related referrals in that one, you know, choosing that one referral lead source. And I go do the marketing.
Right
and
on.
split it up that way.
Yeah, I think a common answer, you know, like restoration people tend to be stuff people, right? We think in terms of air movers and dehues until you can't. And then you start to thinking in terms of talent, right? Okay, like I can't be everything to everybody. So I'm going to double click on your one vertical comment. Who would you go after first? If you're starting from scratch, who would be your target market that you would focus on out of the box? That's how I keep you honest to your words.
Yeah, I mean, I think right. I mean, I'm still trying. Like, I'm stuck right now a little bit because I'm so interested and intrigued in learning about trades and trying to figure out how we can become a part of that that ecosystem. And one of the things that I've noticed is that they have issues, right? Whether HVAC folks, right, that have you know, air conditioning lines that are dripping into the attic that really need attention, or plumbers that are getting messed up, or you know, the people that are inside of other people's homes already have leads every single day. And so that seems to me like one of the lowest barriers that I could go out and just go start talking to people, whether it's at Home Depots or other places, and I could get them to see that they might need some help, and that I could be there for them. So I think, I mean, right now, there's a lot of big stuff that is really interesting and can be pretty profitable. But from a day-to-day getting leads, there's a whole bunch of people in folks' homes right now, and I think that's where I would start.
Got it.
Because I could go there. There's a low barrier to actually getting connected to them, getting access to them, and talking to them, developing a relationship.
Awesome. So, what are you doing within the RIA to make restorers' lives better? The inverse question would be, why'd you show up? What are you hoping to accomplish with your time on the board?
I think I want to be a connector.
Yeah.
I have gotten a lot of benefit from being able to be connected with people that are doing similar things as me. And whether that's in, my, the actual services or in the leadership position that I happen to be in at that time, when I have a group around me that are struggling with the same things that I am, I have more confidence. I feel better about the things that I'm struggling with. I'm encouraged more, and being able to facilitate having some of those conversations and connecting people across the country to know that they're not alone, with the ultimate goal of being able to have folks be connected in a unified front to be able to say, "Hey, we're here, and we've got a voice, and we've got a common voice, and we're all here for the same thing." And being able to do that, I think that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm attempting to do by being on the board and by being involved in RA in a deeper and broader way. And I think it's the most important thing I can think of for, the individual development of all of the people inside of the restoration industry, is to get connected with folks that are doing the same thing that they are, so that they have support and encouragement, and we can have a voice that can actually make a difference.
I love that, man. And you do it well, like A+ for me. You definitely are a connector of people, for sure. All right. Do you have anything you'd like to share as we close out?
What would I like to share? Well, I don't know. Come to St. Louis and visit, right?
Yeah.
This, part of this is reaching out and saying, "Hey, I'd love to learn from anyone out there." We've got good evidence that there's I can think of 3 examples of folks that were just randomly in St. Louis, and they made a call to the main line of Woodard. They just looked it up and just called and said, "Hey, I'm visiting. Could I stop by?"
Yeah.
And I think we're 3 for 3 on those calls. If you're in the industry and you happen to be in St. Louis, somebody at Woodard would be happy to take you around, because we'd love to learn from you, and we'd love to share our learnings and be able to pass a little something on, some little nugget that might be helpful for you.
That's awesome. And I can say every single time I've been to St. Louis, I've had the opportunity of coming to your facility every single time. So I would say that you are correct. While I didn't have to call the main line, usually it was Debbie. Somebody was always willing to show me around and show me what's new. And you guys are always innovating and doing new things. And so if it's been a few years since you've walked through Woodard's facility, you should go again, because it's constantly changing and improving and getting better. It is one of the most incredible places in our industry in the nation, hands down. You do a great job, man.
Well, thank you, Anthony. Love the plug. The team will appreciate it. That's what everybody around here was shooting for, as we got a new facility and put all the things that we learned from all the people around the country in one spot.
For sure, man. Well, thank you so much for taking some time to sit down and talk story with me. And I appreciate your openness, your honesty, your candor, and you kind of set the bar. Ben set the bar high, and then you kind of came in and set the bar high. And so everybody else on the board, look out. You got to, if you're going to do better, you got to really, really try. That's for sure.
Sounds good to me. Anthony, it's really nice chatting with you. I look forward to seeing you soon. All right.
Awesome. Take care, brother. Aloha.
Okay. Thanks.